You're working.
It's because I'm here.
Oh, that's true. Nice.
Oh, God.
How long do you want to wait? Alright. Between 9:31 and 9:32 on my watch will go. I'm not sure how close we are to 9:31.
Does your watch not give seconds?
No. It's also is a Fitbit, not a watch. So.
Oh. But you use it like a watch?
Yeah. Well, and I have my heart rate and my steps.
Get a pocket watch.
No.
And have a chain.
No, this is. I live
And then
in
you can
2022,
just, like,
not 1922, Constance.
It would be classy.
I'm not a classy person. Do I come across as particularly classy to you?
Yes.
I don't know if I have water stuck in my ear or if I'm like sick or something. But I've had this. It feels like water's been stuck in my ear for like almost a week now. It's super annoying.
Half and half hydrogen peroxide and tap water. Let it sit in your ear for 5 minutes, and then
That's a tip for all you out there.
and then roll over and let it drain
I
out.
don't know if it is water.
If it's not the hydrogen peroxide, you probably have something caught behind a chunk of earwax from when you showered. I'm just saying.
Perhaps you are correct.
From a former
years
diver
ago.
who used to have that issue all the time with water being in my ear.
Do you think we're ready, Kai? Yeah. Are you ready, Constance?
I am ready, Mac.
Are you ready? Friendly viewers? Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
All right, we'll get started then. So, welcome back, everyone. How many viewers do we have, Kai?
2. We were up to 4, but we're not.
Up to 4, down to 2. Oh, that's all right. Whoever the 2 of you out there are probably our friend Michelle. Welcome back to the Butterfly House and Aquariums Facebook Live series, where we go behind the scenes here and show you stuff that you otherwise wouldn't normally see or know about. So you can get a little bit more info about our wonderful aquarium here. So today I have one of our aquarists, Constance, with me. Hi, Constance.
Hi, Mac.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really well, thank you. So, Constance, first to start, what do you do here? I know I already said aquarist, but what does that mean? What's your job here?
So, to sum it up very simply, what I do is I take care of all of our aquatic animals. So I help with food prep and feedings and nutrition. We do all of the cleaning of all of the tanks and all of our life support, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And then we also do any of the medical stuff that a fish may need when needed. That's pretty much it.
So what you're saying is that you get to swim every day, right? That's
I unfortunately don't get to swim every day, but I do get to submerge half my body in the tank trying to clean things because I'm short and have short arms and can't reach anything.
sounds fun. Well, all right. So thank you. Now, how did you get into this position? Why do you do this? What led you here?
I grew up in Oregon. I grew up very close to the coast, and I pretty much fell in love with the water when I was very little. I loved going to the aquarium that's there and really anything that had to do with aquatic animals. So I went to college and I went through an aquarium science program that is on the Oregon coast. And then I've kind of bounced around from a couple of different facilities and ended up here, but I love working with fish. I love working with pretty much all aquatic animals. It makes me very happy.
It's probably a pretty good thing since since you work with them every single day. I'd be a little concerned if you hated it. But,
I would be worried too. I do have a pretty cool job. I will say that.
Seems like it, yeah. I'm jealous sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. Now, what's your favorite part of your job?
I don't know that I have a favorite part. It kind of depends on the day. So I do really enjoy working with all of our life support, but I also enjoy the aspect of being able to come into work and I'm learning something new every day, whether it's about anemones or jellyfish or corals. And so kind of day to day is the best part is getting to do different stuff.
Got it. It's not monotonous.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing every day.
Yeah.
Nice. So you already kind of spoiled it a little bit, but tell us what we're going to be talking about today, what we're going to be doing.
So today we're going to be talking about all of our life support and kind of what goes into what we need for all of our tanks. So basically, in short, life support is all of the essential equipment that we need to run a system effectively and efficiently so that our animals are healthy, and it helps with a lot of the work that we would have to do otherwise.
It sounds like that would be a lot of equipment, to keep especially some of our larger exhibits, healthy and running and doing good. So tell me about some of the stuff that goes into life support.
So there's a lot of things that go into life support. With today's technology, though, a lot of it has gotten a lot smaller than it used to be. But if you look behind me, this is one of our setups that we do have for the general public to look at. This is a very basic outlook on what all of our LSS is. So down here, what he is showing you is our sump. That is an extra water basin for our mangrove exhibit. And connected to that is a pump that takes the water up through a UV sterilizer, which is this black body. Inside here, the water runs through here where a UV bulb sterilizes it, and then it will go into the system. It splits off as well and comes over to this little guy back here. This is a protein skimmer or a fractionator. So this actually mimics making sea foam. So what that does is it actually pulls out all of the organic matter that's in the water and pulls it out. And you can actually see it in here. Our skimmer cup needs to be cleaned, but it pulls out all of that organic matter from the water column so that it's not staying in there and going back into the tank.
And by organic matter, you mean?
By organic matter, I mean leftover food, algae, well, not algae necessarily, but leftover food, detritus, fish waste, and out in the ocean, it would actually be a lot of it would be dead animals.
Interesting. So it sounds like a lot.
Yes.
Would you say, is there a most important component? Is there one that's like, this is the most important, or is it all just together as a system that's most important?
I would say all of it in itself is important, but it also depends on the systems a lot. So systems like our jellyfish systems, they don't need nearly as much of this stuff as our stingray exhibit does, which we will be checking out since it is the largest and it does have more components than our mangrove exhibit does.
Got it. So you said jellyfish, might not need as much life support as music just came on.
We have some lovely background noise.
Exactly. Might not need as much life support as mangroves or stingrays. But does every aquarium, every exhibit need some sort of life support?
Yes. So every system needs some type of life support, whether it's very basic or very elaborate. So take our conservatory pond, for example. That system, for a very long time, it simply ran on having a pump and filter pads in it. It now has a pump, filter pads, and a UV sterilizer on it just to kind of help with the algae buildup in there. But for the most part, everything does need some type of basic filtration to help keep the water clean.
And you mentioned our pond in there, which is freshwater. Is
Yep.
there a major difference between the life support for a freshwater system and for a saltwater system?
So there is some differences, but there's not a whole lot of differences. Like freshwater, you cannot use a protein skimmer. It will not fractionate out. It'll just sit there and bubble in the water. It will not pull out any of the organic matter. But for the most part, pretty much any aquarium that you go to, be it with actual aquariums that have fish in them or even mammal exhibits, they're going to have some type of filtration on them, saltwater or freshwater.
Got it. Okay, so talking about all the work that goes into these, how often do you need to do maintenance, or how often do things go wrong? And what types of things can go wrong?
So for the most part, we do daily maintenance on a lot of this stuff. Our protein skimmers typically get cleaned every day. We do have filter socks in there, so those get changed daily or every other day. Our pumps, on the other hand, they will get maintenance roughly every 6 months or at least once a year to help prevent things from going wrong. A lot of the stuff that we have on our systems here, unfortunately, is older. And so we do tend to have some issues where we take it off to clean it, and when we go to put it back on, it's not working anymore. So we do have run into that a couple of times, but it's not super bad. But we do a lot of maintenance on our LSS. We'll see back on Stingrays, we have sand filters on there. Those get backwashed twice a week to keep them clean and running. Our tide pool exhibit has sand filters as well, and those get backwashed at least once a week, depending on how efficient they're running and if they're getting clogged up or not.
Got it. Wow. So we mentioned stingrays, and we're going to go look at stingrays here in just a second. But I have one last question. I'm full of questions now.
I love the questions. They're great.
How long can a system go? Let's say life support stops, like it stops working, something goes wrong, the pumps break, power goes out, who knows? How long until things go very badly in the exhibit?
We never want to get to that point.
Sure.
So if one of our systems goes down, let's take mangroves for example. If the pump just stopped working, we would want to remove all of the animals immediately and get them into different tanks so that their lives are not going to be compromised. But a tank can go south very quickly. When there's no water movement, the dissolved oxygen in the tank depletes very quickly. And then also a lot of our animals, if it's a coral tank or an anemone tank, anything like that, they need a lot of flow. They need a lot of fresh water coming through there. So it can go downhill very quickly, and we try to stop that if it ever does happen.
Yeah, so it'd be like for a person being locked in a room without a vent, with nothing,
yeah,
flow at all.
In a very small room without a vent, without a window, without anything.
Got it. That sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
So on a much more cheery topic, why don't we go over and look at our stingray life support?
Yes, let's go.
By the way, Constance,
Oh God.
you know where you're going, right?
I do know where I'm going.
You work here, so I'm gonna have to.
I mean, they gave me a t-shirt and a badge, and they let me wear a walkie-talkie, so I kind of like to think I work here. All right. On our way, though, we will stop and look at one thing that we do a lot of here is we actually will tear down a system and replumb the entire thing. This is behind our clownfish and anemone exhibit for anyone who's been here. We just tore this tank down a little over a week ago and completely redid all of the LSS, which is located under the stand. So all of the piping under here before had a lot of extra piping going places that it didn't need to, which made the water flow extremely inefficient. And so we replumbed it, we made it very streamlined, and now the tank is getting more flow than we ever thought it could.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned that you replumbed it, or that we replumbed it.
Yes.
So do we do all of our own plumbing here?
For the most part, yes. So we are small enough that we are actually able to do a lot of our own replumbing ourselves, which is one thing you'll see on stingrays. If we ever have to outsource anything, it's typically just electrical stuff. But other than that, we pretty much get to learn how to plumb everything and make mistakes along the way, and it's fun.
So it's sort of like you're a part-time aquarist and a part-time plumber.
Part-time aquarist, part-time plumber, part-time cleaner, part-time. You gotta juggle really well. All right, so back here, this is all of our stingray life support. A lot of it is very similar, well, it's pretty much exactly the same to mangroves, except for these guys. So these guys are pressurized sand filters. So what these guys do is the water will get pumped through them, and they will pull out any large matter that is coming from the tank. So really any leftover scraps of food, any of the stingray waste will actually get collected in here in the sand. And like I said, twice a week we do backwash these. So the water will actually be turned and go reverse through them, and it will be pumped down the drain, and it will wash a majority, if not all, of the waste out of them and back down the drain so that it's no longer in here. But this is one of the systems that we actually replumbed. We did this back in November, and we consolidated a lot of the plumbing. Before, the plumbing came up, went along that, and then also came up this sidewall right behind me. We were fortunate enough to be able to consolidate a lot of it and get it very streamlined and very short so that we have better water flow throughout our system. It was a very long project. It took us a little over a week to get done, and then it took us about 3 weeks to get all the kinks worked out from the change in efficiency in the system. But overall, it's really good. It's working really well, and we had a lot of fun doing it.
Interesting. So earlier we talked about things going wrong.
Yes.
And if something breaks, what's the process when something breaks? Like, well, let's just say you're like, oh, something's not working. Is there a troubleshooting process you go through, and then what happens once you identify the issue?
Yes. So pretty much if something stops working, we're going to troubleshoot. If we don't know exactly what stopped working, then we're going to go through all of our pieces of equipment. We're going to go through different steps to kind of figure out what it is. Once we've located what it is, whether it's the pump or a sand filter or a UV sterilizer, anything like that, we're then going to troubleshoot and work through the process of that specific item and getting to the point where it can either be fixed then and there, or how we can work around it until it gets fixed and keep the system up and running.
Interesting. All right, so I have one last question for you. So this is a two-part question.
Okay.
I want you to tell me what your favorite life support system is, or whichever one you're most proud of.
Okay.
And which one is the most unique? The most, just unique to work with, one that gives you a little bit more trouble than the others.
So I would have to say one of my favorites, which pretty much all of the favorites of any of the Aquarist staff, is ones that we have redone. Probably one of mine is Stingrays. I worked with this system for a while after I started, and its LSS before was very frustrating. So I'd have to say this is one of my favorites, or one of our surplus exhibit, which is it's a coral holding system. But one of our most challenging and unique exhibits is going to be our tide pool exhibit. All of the LSS for that is located in kind of a back room area that's very small, and there's not a whole lot of room to work with it. We literally have to climb underneath a metal frame to be able to access any of the LSS that's under there. So it makes maintaining that stuff very, very difficult.
Got it. All right, why don't we go back out there to say our goodbyes so we don't have to continue to shout. I thought it was mostly loud in here. It's a whole other piece.
Yeah, pumps make everything much louder.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, well, before we go, Constance, I lied. I have one more easy question. Is there anything else you want to tell people about the life support here? You think you covered it?
I think I covered it all, unless any questions have come through. No?
That's okay. All right. Well, first I want to thank you, Constance, for humoring me with all my questions and showing us all the really interesting and unique things about caring for especially aquariums. You know, it's something I think a lot of people don't think about, is that
a lot goes into it.
A lot goes into it. It's not just putting water and fish into a tank and voila. There's a whole lot more to it. So thank you for sharing that with us. I'd also like to thank anybody who decided to tune in and watch this. We really appreciate it. Hopefully you'll join us next time to see some other really cool and interesting behind the scenes things that you wouldn't get to normally see here at the Butterfly House and Aquarium. Until then, thank you so much. Goodbye.
Bye.